Hello, everybody. Welcome to the premiere episode of CelebWorx Live series Yo Joe RAPS, an inside look into the iconic series of G.I. Joe, a real American hero. My name is Chris. Arsaga. Inside look into the iconic series of G.I. Joe. Hello, Nery.
I'm Nery Lemus. Thanks for joining us on our new inside look, where knowing will no longer be half the battle.
Before we bring on our special guest, we want to remind you that you can be automatically entered to win an autographed 8x10 from today's special guest. All you have to do is share this live stream, and we will contact the winner after the show ends.
I'm excited to bring on this voiceover legend. Gregg Berger is an American voice actor who is internationally known for his iconic roles as Grimlock in the Generation 1 Transformers, Transformers Fall of Cybertron, and Transformers Devastation. His classic and contemporary iconic roles include Odie in the Garfield franchise, Mysterio and Kraven the Hunter in Spider-Man, Agent K in the Men in Black animated series, Jecht in Final Fantasy, Eeyore in Kingdom Hearts, the Pain in Metal Gear Solid 3, the Grumble in All Real Monsters. I can keep going and going, and many more, including the reason we have him on today's program is he lent the voice of Spirit and Firefly in the original G.I. Joe animated series cartoon. We also have to mention his on-camera work where he had leading roles in the classic comedy Police Academy Mission to Moscow and the sci-fi comedy cult classic Space Invaders. He was also in 3 pilots for CBS. Please welcome our client and our friend, the iconic Gregg Berger, to today's program.
Yay!
Yo!
Greg, thanks for joining us. Thanks
Sorry
for coming.
I broke the studio.
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay. It was okay. I was hearing feedback, so I didn't know. I couldn't catch what Chris was saying, but not a problem.
Yeah, my bad, people. Sorry, I got a new setup here, so it's a little...
Great to see you. Great to hear you. Thanks for having.
Yeah, thanks for coming on to answer some of our questions. Also, to the general public, if you have any G.I. Joe questions or really any questions in general for Greg or us, please post them on the official stream, and we will answer them if we can. We discussed this also. We were just having a discussion offline about possibly talking about Transformers. So, guys, if you want to talk about Transformers too, that's cool. I mean, G.I. Joe and Transformers, same universe. So go ahead.
Let it go where it goes.
Yeah, whatever you want. Nery, you want to start us off?
Absolutely. Greg, how the hell are you handling this quarantine? I mean, I haven't seen you in months. So
staying home, staying healthy, determined to remain healthy, and being realistic, as I hope every audience member is. It is what it is, and we all do what comes next. And if any of us think we know what comes after what comes next, you can be re-educated. We just need to stay on it, stay vigilant, and acknowledge that it is what it is. So
how do you stay sane, though? That's the key. That's the real question, is how do you stay sane?
I've been able to stay in touch. Social media has been invaluable and unbelievable. And I try to keep my Facebook page compelling and controversial and funny and fun. You just invent projects. You know, there's an Apple commercial, I believe it is, that's airing now that says creativity goes on. So, if you can go to your studio and make something, you're ahead of the curve. Wake up and create or envision a productive use of the day, and then do it.
And that's all we can do right now. Totally. Chris, anything else to add to that?
No, I mean, I agree with that. I mean,
how about you guys?
I mean, we've been doing our thing, I guess. I mean, this is basically what we've been doing.
This is our way of staying sane. This is like a show, at home. So It's the closest thing we're gonna get. We miss you guys. So this is an important thing to maintain our, mental stability. So
we all watch the late night guys in their attempts to reinvent and largely successfully. And we need to do the same thing with that comic convention energy. There's a real communality to the convention scene, which is what I love about it. You don't have to twist my arm as a rule to go. I can't wait to go. I like the opportunity to say thank you to fans, and I love the opportunity fans take to say thank you to us. For real, for real.
Yeah, and anybody that complained about flying prior to this epidemic will no longer complain ever again. So
Yeah, I wonder who.
me. That's exactly why I'm saying that. I will never complain to get on an airplane ever again.
Yeah,
So.
It also is fun on days when necessities have to be taken care of to walk into a bank with a mask on and have them just say, "How can I help you?"
Yeah, that's exactly. It's a weird time we live in. Just a weird time. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
we'll all keep each other sane is the real answer.
Yeah.
I actually tried ordering some paints online because I don't know, and not many people know this about me, but I actually went to art school, and that was actually my major was art, and I haven't drawn or painted anything in like over 20 years. Like it's been a long time. And so I actually ordered paint. I ordered brushes. I'm just waiting for them to come in, and I just like, might as well. Never know.
This is the real test. All the people who said, if I had the time, I'd be doing this and I'd be doing that and I'd be doing. Now they have the time.
Now they have it. So they got the time
to put up.
There's no excuse for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just so everybody knows out there, I mean, since this is G.I. Joe specific, I should probably let everybody know Gregg's characters on the screen. We have Spirit and Firefly, which I think are the two that you're most known for. But you also did Cutter, the guy who drove
off to the island of no return.
The guy that drove the big hovercraft, and then Ripcord, the paratrooper.
Hey,
and then
like jumping out of planes. What are you going to do about it?
And then Sparks, which you probably don't remember him. He was kind of a lesser character. Yeah. And then Colonel, what was it? Colonel Brockroff?
They say, yeah.
Yeah, from the October Guard. And then on Transformers, you were Grimlock.
Me Dinobot leader.
And Skyfire / Jetfire.
Yes, a very large Autobot. Or was he a Decepticon?
That's right. He was both.
It became a little conflicted.
He was both. And then Long Haul from
somebody had to be part of Devastator, and I remove. I didn't join his outfit to be no dump truck.
That's great. I love it. And then you were also Outback.
He was always off to the Outback. So yeah.
Love it.
Wherever it went, there were so many of us in the casts of both shows, and many of us were in the casts of both shows. In those days, you almost needed the equivalent of an air traffic controller just to know which show you were late for and which show you were early for and which show you were doing next. And Wally Burr was at the helm of both. So we relied upon him to always be able to read us into wherever it was we were supposed to be in a specific episode. But honestly, you could get confused. And what both of those shows did in those days was reward those of us who are multi-voiced and multifaceted, and it rewarded us for our ability to sort of create a repertory company out of a limited number of people. He would always offer guest roles and peripheral roles to cast within, which is very unusual as things are today.
Right.
But because of that, I think there was a real camaraderie and mutual respect actor to actor, because everybody knew, if you weren't right for this, you'd be right for that. And we all really maintained an incredible mutual respect for each other's abilities. It didn't matter how you looked. It didn't matter how tall you were, how short you were, that. It was all about stepping up to the mic and hitting it out of the park.
Right.
Was it Wally Burr that cast you for your character?
Yeah. And I had done a show, one of my first ventures out, called The Littles, that Wally directed.
Yes.
And I was the new kid on that. And he had seen me in a play in Los Angeles and said, I had been considering you for a relatively small perimeters, but he said what you did on stage makes me aware that you can do. I'm patting myself on the back, but he said you can do anything. He said, I'm working on an enormous project called G.I. Joe and Transformers. We're working on both. We're casting both. We need versatile actors. And he said, I'm going to think of you for everything. So as that process moved on to casting, he would have just a lot of scripts out on a table. This is the way I remember it. And because he respected everyone he called in so much, before you even read, he would say, pick 3. So you would look through all of these breakdowns of characters, and he left it to us to figure out the 3 that we wanted to be considered for. In other words, what we felt best for. He wasn't trying to fit a round peg into a square, you know.
I've never heard that before. I mean, after talking to all you guys, I've never heard that. That's crazy.
Now I know why Michael Bell got Duke. I'm kidding.
Yeah, he's strong-willed everybody.
Yeah. There you have it. Well, leaders lead.
That's true.
Absolutely.
So,
and saboteur.
Do you
I like blowing stuff up? What are you gonna do?
Have you ever recycled a voice, like just kind of a little bit, like from one character to a different character?
You know what? I've heard people say there's a limited repertoire and you do the same stuff over and over again. I try not to. I mean, that's the joy for me is
right.
Really trying to honor the writer, really trying to honor the artist. Both of them give you all of these clues, and as long as they're writing something 3-dimensionally distinct and unique, it goes somewhere else. You know, you have only so much palette to paint from, but there's an infinite number of colors within the palette.
Right.
Wow, that was hard.
Yeah, that was very insightful.
Very insightful.
It's funny. I only asked that because I won't say who. Alan Oppenheimer. Excuse me. He told me that he recycled a couple of his villains, like basically like using a different version of Skeletor.
I see.
Or, you know, other guys. So that's the only reason I asked. So.
He always.
I'll put it a different way. Whether you're the hero, whether you're the villain, nobody plays the villain. Nobody plays the hero. You have to read the scenario that you're in, and heroes make choices sometimes at their own expense for the greater good. Villains, they think everything should go the way they think it should go.
It's true.
You know, that's the core of both, and that's what makes it fun.
Alan used to always say, "Who greater to steal from than themselves?" I mean, that's really that's true. Absolutely.
Don't
the truth.
steal, but if you're gonna steal from the best.
Steal from the best. Exactly. Can you walk us through one of the Wally Burr sessions? I mean, they're infamous.
Well, you know, I'm going to say again, I was the new kid on the block. I was very fortunate relatively early in my animated career to have all of this work and character arc and all these things that I don't think there's a director who has taken that assignment as seriously as Wally did. He scoured the scripts. He scoured the storyboards, the Bible. He knew what everybody was doing, and he knew the show that he wanted to turn out. And I had very good relationship with him, but he was a firm taskmaster. He wanted what he wanted, and he wasn't going to leave, nor were we, until he got it. But look at the future of what he created and the longevity of the characters, the story. They were all character-driven stories, and he got what he wanted. And he needed galactic battles in Transformers. He needed epic good versus not so good in G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
And he would nurse that. He would push it until he had what he wanted. But they're still around. And there's people, young people, who've watched later versions of both franchises who find their way back to the original. Why? Because, I mean, to me, I want to be told a story. That's why I go to the movies. That's why I go to the theater. That's why I open a book. And but unless it's character driven, and unless you care about the characters, you don't care about what happens to them. I think that's what he was great at getting. But people had varying degrees of resistance to that sort of beneficent. He was a nice dictator, but he was a dictator. You know,
he was the kind.
He was a kind dictator.
I think you being a new kid on,
and because we're artists, you know, of course that can ruffle feathers. I'm not saying that the resistance wasn't sometimes justified, but the ultimate is that we collaborated and we created this thing that came out of all of us that couldn't have come out of any one of us. We all needed each other on both sides of the glass, and I think I know that we made something that has had incredible longevity, just incredible.
Absolutely.
I agree. Yeah. Do you by chance own? I'm pretty sure a lot of people are thinking this. Do you by chance own any of the original toys at all?
I have been gifted with more Transformers than G.I. Joe. I have the box set that Shout Factory did of both shows, which I think is just so epic and so true to the shows themselves. I think a lot of work went into the presentation of those box sets. I mean, I've had product. I've had discs all along the way, or cassettes, or whatever it was in those days. But as far as the toy line, I'm less a collector than I am a very, very fortunate recipient of things that people have given to me, or the producers have given to me. So yes,
right.
I keep and treasure all of that, but I would by no means call me a collector.
I think it's
I'm an acquirer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking of something very interesting. You said you picked basically your characters off a table. You know,
Right.
I don't know if you know this, but Spirit's real name is actually Charlie Ironknife.
Charlie
He's a
Ironknife.
shaman. He's a shaman. He's a medicine man. He moves slow and calm, and moving like a spirit with the strength of his thoughts. How much of your personality is ingrained in the character, and vice versa? I mean, knowing you, you were sort of, for me, you're the Zen master in my life.
Yeah.
So how much of the character's ingrained in you?
I'm going to say Spirit, more than I think any other character I've ever been entrusted with, is closer to my worldview than I can even tell you. I mean, I think the key and the core to Spirit was always that he said possibility and impossibility are states of mind. In my mind, there is only the possible, that which can be done. Well, that's me. That is me. Look, I believe that you reach out to the character, but I also believe the character reaches out to you.
Absolutely. And when I hear Spirit, I go, that's Gregg. I mean, at the core, the feeling I get
is, take that as a compliment.
Absolutely. Take it. I mean it as a compliment.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because I think Gregg and I, when we first met, we really hit it off. And we kind of have, I'm kind of that way too. I'm very like, Nery's a little different, but I'm a little mellow, more on the mellow side. And it's funny because we hit it off really well. And you're totally like Spirit. You are.
Thank you.
Any of your other characters.
The irony is that despite this incredibly epic battle between Spirit and Storm Shadow, Keone Young and I have been friends for a lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
Again, it's built on mutual respect, but when we were not duking it out behind microphones, we just we really, really like each other and enjoy each other.
I think you guys both came up around the same time in terms
very
of
much so,
right? Yeah. So I mean, a lot of the struggle and building and trying to find and break through this business,
right, including on-camera careers and voiceover careers.
and you guys share that. So,
Right.
I mean, I understand why you guys have been friends for decades.
And Keone's awesome. He's a good dude. He's a really good guy.
He truly is.
Yeah. So that leads me to one of my questions, actually. So I know that this is a tough one, but other than your characters, like if they came to you now and what you know about the characters, and they said, hey, you could choose any G.I. Joe character, to voice other than your own, which one would you want to voice? Or at least have a crack at with, and not to disrespect anybody else. Like if Frank, don't worry about that. Just take that out of the equation. Just,
I don't think I can do it.
Really?
I don't think I can do it because I hear everybody as who they were. I really think the casting was perfect.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know how to do it because it would be, I guess, at the expense of somebody that I think is perfect.
It's funny because growing up, the comic books and the figures kind of went hand in hand. Whenever, and I'm sure a lot of the people out there watching do the same thing. When I read the comics, I hear all your guys' voices like in my head. Like if I read Storm Shadow, I hear Keone in my head. When I read, Firefly or Spirit, I hear you in my head. And that's what it is.
I have said this at panels, at conventions. I can almost see an image of Grimlock appear online and wait to see how long it takes before somebody tags my name to it.
Yeah.
I really take that as the highest form of flattery and compliment.
I'm so glad you guys brought that up because people travel hundreds of miles to see you at shows, Greg. And it's around the country. Many of them are G.I. Joe fans. Why do you think the series was such a prevalent and long-lasting success?
I'm going to return to an earlier answer, which is the fact that it is character-driven with carefully and well-delineated characters and conflicts, and they have an infinite shelf life. And I mean, the number of people that I've met from early G.I. Joe fandom who went on to distinguish themselves in the military and at conventions can't wait to tell me about it, including the groups that sometimes convention together. In Transformers, I've met people on both shows, people who were bedridden or going through some real challenges in life, and they just hung their day. They built their day around watching those shows. They had that kind of love and loyalty for them. On Transformers, I've met graphic designers. I've met mechanical engineers who played with their toys till they broke, and then they took out a pencil and paper and started sketching schematics. They didn't even know what a schematic was, but it fostered something in them. I'm not saying that we cured any diseases, but we meant something to so many people who I would never know except for the opportunity to meet them one-on-one in the convention world. And I am grateful for it, and I am humbled by it. I guess I'm empowered by it and humbled by it at the same time. It just it's a really amazing thing. And I know, because of your client list, I know how many clients have the exact same response. Something happens at every show that absolutely just touches your heart.
Very true.
Plus, it's funny and fun and stupid and outrageous, and it's all that. But I don't know if it's for everybody, but boy, is it for me. I love it.
And I'm going to go one step further. And like you said, Chris and I do that for that one moment that just touches our heart every time we go to a show.
And you don't know when it'll be or where it'll come from.
And it's always unexpected. It's always unexpected.
That's true.
And I want to add, I know that a lot of the success is because of the character-driven stories that G.I. Joe brought to audiences everywhere, but it's also because of you guys. I mean, like you said, Chris says he reads a comic book and he hears your voice. I mean, the fact that you guys lent a voice to a character that someone literally can connect in their own lives, that is, it's fundamental,
Now I'm going to say, at the origin story at the outset of the doing of it. We were unsure whether it was resonating. You just don't know. And that has to do with each artist and the people on the other side of the booth. It's all tentative at the beginning, and then you get that rating, and then you get that pickup, and then you realize that this character who had sort of a beginning, middle, and an end is really only in the middle and is going on and is going to experience other things. So you can't see into the future. Well, if you can, let me know, because I'd like you as a financial advisor.
Unfortunately, I don't. Unfortunately, I don't have that talent. But I will say that while you might not know, and none of the cast knew the success, Hasbro definitely did, because many of the characters, based on where they appeared in the series, it was based on toy sales.
Yeah.
So they knew
that is a reality. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they created the cartoon in order to sell the toys, and I think
absolutely.
I mean, I think the toys stood alone on their own, but then and I'm obviously speaking my own opinion on this, of course, everybody could agree with me, but once I personally watched the cartoons every day after school. I would have my homework out and I'd have G.I. Joe on while I'm doing my homework.
Right.
And it was the voices. It was you guys, doing the voice. And I can't speak for now, because the problem with now is that you get all of these movies and you have like Vin Diesel doing somebody, and you got, Kate Beckinsale doing somebody else. And to me, I always think it's more about the character opposed to who's doing it. And you guys are those characters. It's so phenomenal at what you do. Like, you guys are so damn good at it. And like when I watched just recently, I just watched something. I was just watching Toy Story 4. And I thought to myself, I said, it's funny. People don't think when they see Buzz Lightyear somewhere, they don't think, oh, that's Tim Allen. That's not the first thing that they think of.
The first thing they think
of. They just think of,
Buzz is Buzz.
And I'm sure that most people don't even know that when you go to Disneyland and you go on the Buzz Lightyear ride, and most people probably don't even know this, but it's Pat Fraley. Pat Fraley is Buzz Lightyear on the ride, and he sounds just like him. So, it's more about the character to me. And, it goes back to what we were talking about before. It's about the story. It's about the character. It's not about like the name that you put on it. Not that you guys aren't names, you are, but you guys do such a better job.
Now, here's what happens as far as licensed characters of Disney or of whoever, is that they are fiercely protective of all of the essence of that character.
Right.
So if somebody's going to cover somebody, they've got to be able to find that third dimension and keep it and hold on to it. So if that's coming from Pat, or if it's coming from me, or whoever it's coming from, you're really entrusted with keeping that character consistent and honest and true. I have the great good fortune of doing Eeyore. Not always, but sometimes. There's 3 of us that they have gone to, but I love it. And they sent me home with tapes of Ralph Wright, the original Eeyore. And they made darn sure that we covered it honestly and truly and genuinely. Ho hum.
Love it.
That's awesome. I love it.
Now, has there ever been a time in your career where the character is doesn't have that dimensionality that you're discussing, and you're the one that added that dimensionality to it?
Gosh, I don't know, because that's not the way I approach it. I really think art, like life, is collaborative. So as soon as you scour that breakdown that the writer slaved over, as soon as you really look at the clues that the artist has given you, they may not know what it sounds like, but it falls to you, if you're sincere about what we're all in this for, then you can't do anything except lend. You stir it all around in your head and you open your mouth and see what comes out. Now, that's another interesting. When I have students and when I teach, I say, to your point, Chris, earlier, if you want to be remembered, be memorable. Well, how do you be memorable? You commit, you see it and you be it. But you don't want to be so studied when you go in for producers who are also uncertain. They don't know how it sounds yet. But
Right.
you want in the audition process to surprise yourself at the same time that you're hopefully surprising them. If you're too studied, if you're too in your head, if you can't stop thinking and just do it, it's not going to ring true. It's not going to work.
And
That's the way I approach it, and that's the way I teach it.
And that's solid advice for anybody out there that is even trying to be an actor or a voiceover actor. I mean, that applies universally.
Right.
So,
Firefly he's a saboteur. He's gonna do it, and it's gonna feel so good to just blow it up. But that's a real guy. His skill set is absurd and ridiculous, but there's other people whose skill set might be absurd and ridiculous, but they don't love it.
Yeah.
He loves it, and I don't know. That's how I do.
If I remember correctly, I think it was 84 when they released the toys for both Firefly and Spirit. Do you remember which character you voiced first?
Wow. It feels like Firefly to me. I think I was Firefly before I was Spirit, and I don't remember honestly whether I knew that I was cast as Spirit. I'm not sure. Somebody probably knows.
Yeah. What about
some big long Google search?
What about Transformers? Do you remember if you had Transformers first or G.I. Joe first, or because I think Transformers came out a year before G.I. Joe, because I know they released the Joe toys later. They had to push it off because of I think it was Star Wars. They had to push it off like a year, and that's what gave Larry Hama the opportunity to write the file cards on the back.
Uh-huh.
But I
what a great guy that is.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. He got to write the dossiers for everybody.
Exactly. But
there were a couple they actually had to
have the great good fortune of doing a number of shows with him. I mean, conventions with him, and with
Larry.
Yeah, we've got.
Larry's a great guy. Love Larry.
Yep. I'm gonna have to leave it to the archivists. I associated all being concurrent, not consecutive. And
that's okay. It's cool.
It just feels like it all arrived. And I'm telling you, I was in the presence of people that I admired so much, and it was thoroughbreds running. Welker and Cullen and Michael and even Ken Sansom, and there were so many people, plus Chris, plus Arthur, and so I was watching people work when I wasn't working.
Right.
But I knew that I knew I had to bring my best game every time. And so I did. That's what I was there to do. I'm not undervaluing my contribution.
Right.
But I was also studying, the way they tensed, the way they relaxed, the way they pushed, and when they held back. And they were much more microphone savvy than I was. I will say that. And so there are things you can watch and learn from, not to mention Frank clowning like nobody's ever clowned ever.
I mean, you had iconic voice
acting. He looked at me early on and he said, well, it was this or college.
That's great. Are there any stories like that? I mean, I know you guys, as we've heard, pranksters, in the booth. So was there any stories
I've heard a lot.
Remember?
I've heard a lot. Frank did it a lot. So
he did, but it only made us closer. Everybody broke up over the same stuff. It's like everybody in the company. It was like being in the company of a play. It was very theatrical. And because there was so much writing on the fly and revisions on the fly and sort of corporate contributions that were affecting things on the fly, we spent a lot of time in the green room and in the parking lot. And in the first sessions, the union contract allowed for an up to 8-hour record, which later got shortened because in part of how many exhaustive vocally exhaustive days that turned out to be. But the result of it is that we were able to bond like you can only bond if you're actually working with people that many hours of that many days. On Transformers, if Scatman brought his ukulele, it was like you never wanted
Oh
to
man, that's
Oh
cool.
my God, I bet that was amazing.
And
So
and
cool.
somehow, and
Yeah,
I'm
and
gonna credit,
brothers.
yeah, I'll credit Wally Burr with this too. It was the most compatible group of people from very different backgrounds and careers, but everybody sort of got the same joke, and I think that's what makes a show work, and that's an X factor. I think you can hope for it, but you only benefit from it if it actually happens. And the result is, not only do we have jobs, but so many of us launched careers. We still see each other. We still bump into each other. Everyone, and not everyone, but the best of the best have worked for a lifetime. That's amazing.
In the beginning, did you ever get to work with, I mean, I've heard a lot of the guys say that they've got to work with these guys, but did you ever get to work with like Mel Blanc or Dawes Butler or any of those guys?
Yes. This same play, Cloud Nine, I was in the LA company, and believe it or don't, I went into the show as an understudy. I thought, I'll never go on. I'm going to learn this show. It's going to go unappreciated. Not that I wouldn't do it. It was a phenomenal play where actors were jumping in and out of characters, and it was like an acting aerobics show. So there came the night when the guy I was covering, something happened, car or something. Everybody was fine, but they said, suit up, you're going on. And I started hyperventilating, and I was excited and I was nervous. I tell students, excitement is just it's just the positive side of being nervous. You can tap into the nerves and say, this is really excitement hiding as nerves. Anyway, I went on, I did it. And it went exceedingly well. And after the show, the stage manager ran back and got me and said, somebody wants to say hello to you. And I came out, and that night it was Gordon Hunt.
Oh, wow.
All of the Hanna-Barbera direction. He said, I just wanted to tell you, I thought what you did was really masterful. And he said, you're the kind of person that we're always looking for at Hanna-Barbera. Well, me, you may have heard me tell this story, but me, who can be polite to a fault at my own expense, or in those days, I looked him in the eye and I said, hey, you've had my demo for a couple of months. If you can move me from the bottom of the pile to the top, I'd love for you to give a listen. I really want to work with you. And he said, gee, you got a lot of nerve, don't you? And I said, not usually, but I'm not, if this is an opportunity, I'm not letting it go by without letting you know it's what I really would love to be doing.
Wow.
Less than a week later, he called me in for a very peripheral role. Shortly after that, he called me in for an episode of what they were then calling the New Jetsons. He introduced me. He said, I think this is one of the new kids. I think you're going to be seeing a lot of him. I saw him on stage. He completely busted me, called me out, and he said, I really think he's going to be among us for some time to come. So that is incredible. But
wow.
on that day, to your question, Mel Blanc walked in.
Wow.
They seated me next to Mel. Dawes Butler walked in. Don Messick walked in. June Foray walked in.
Oh my God!
Walked in. Talk about a day when you could die happy.
It's like the Mount Rushmore right here.
Say again?
Wow, that's like the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah. And there I was, and Gordon Hunt was saying to them, this guy belongs right where he is today.
Wow.
And that is a day I wouldn't trade for anything. Make me an offer.
Amazing.
No.
Wow.
I won't trade.
Wow, that is so cool.
I had that. And
so
June Foray was a regular irregular for years on the Garfield show. And
Right.
Stan Freberg, another legend in advertising, voiceover, and everything else. Lorraine Newman works with us. It's a wonderful, wonderful group of people. I admire everybody.
For the people out there,
I admire the people that I admire.
The people that out there don't know, Greg is Odie on Garfield.
Wow.
And Greg, how long have you been doing that voice for? How long?
Got to be. I know it's 30.
It's a little bit more than 30 years.
Yeah,
That's
it's
incredible.
over 30 years. How old am I?
Wow.
It's amazing, though. I mean, your voice. I mean,
Believe me, and I went to the original Woodstock, so there's that.
People wouldn't know, but the fact that when you hear Odie, people don't even realize that there's a voice behind that. Meaning they just think,
the other thing people don't think about is that it's a buddy comedy, like Abbott and Costello, Hope and Crosby. The dog and the cat are dependent on each other.
Yeah,
That's the way they treat it with respect.
And I'm also Squeak the Mouse on the same show, who's the only mouse that Garfield won't kick out of the house.
And Harry, the alley cat who lives down the street, because living in a garbage can, you get to let the food marinate for a few days. Herman the mailman, who always delivers to the Arbuckle house. Trivial Pursuit winner is hanging on to the fact that Transformers, G1, Megatron, and Grimlock are also the voices of Garfield and Odie, and that's got to say something about vocal versatility.
Incredible.
That's
Frank
incredible.
Welker and I.
Yeah, that's right. So speaking of Grimlock, that leads me to my next question. And just recently, you did revisit Grimlock. You got to be Grimlock again, right? On the newest show.
It's happened more times than I can say, and it's so great every time to be able to throw my heart and soul and tonsils into it. To have a history with a characters like that, and then to have them come back to you time after time after time, it really makes me quite proud. Yup.
That's awesome. So also in the same vein, I know that they did the movies and stuff like that, and they actually did ask, I think Welker did a couple of his characters in a couple of the movies. What do you think about the new movies? They didn't ask you to do any of them, did they?
I have not to date been asked, and if they do ask, I'm there in a heartbeat. Sure.
Powers that be out there, you heard it.
Before we move on to some of the fan questions, Greg, is there any words of advice that you want to give your G.I. Joe or Transformers fans that to leave them?
I said it a little earlier as advice to prospective voiceover people, acting students, or just be a better human. If you want to be remembered, be memorable. That's something I believe that for each and all of us, if you can consider whatever it is that you are as assets, not liabilities, there's nothing for anyone to apologize for, as long as you're seeking the highest and best in your work, in your life, in your relationships. And that's how I approach acting as well. You need to be a person.
Sound advice. We have a question here from Joe Delbridge. He says, were the G.I. Joe voice actors signing at cons in the 80s? I don't think so, right?
Not that I am aware of. Hi, Joe. The first real awareness I had of the convention phenomenon was a BotCon in Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina. John Stevenson and Michael Bell and I went, and we weren't really sure what to expect. This is many, many, many years ago. But we walked into the lobby of the hotel, and we might as well have been the Beatles. The entire convention had descended on this single hotel. Every guest in the hotel knew who we were, and this convention phenomenon is something that I've seen unfold from the beginning for me. It was one of the best weekends ever, but people came to me, and all three of us, and explained how G1 found its way, and the twists and turns and changes of the franchise, but how for that fandom they never didn't realign with G1 in their heads, and that's where their hearts were. It blew my mind blown. It blew my mind. It still blows my mind. But that early on, because Michael Bell and John Stevenson and I, we talked about it all weekend, and we said, this is a thing, and this is a powerful thing. And there's got to be a way to continue to make ourselves available to reach fandom one-on-one at events like this. And that's why I made it my business early on, relatively, to tap in and make myself available. I don't even know how many San Diego Comic-Cons I've done, but it's at least 15. And there are panel rooms at some of these conventions that are just overflow, and that's with huge seating.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing I said earlier. It's empowering and humbling at the same time to be continually reminded of the effect that some of this product can have on the lives of people who embrace it.
And you're a perfect convention guest. So, thankfully, the community embraces you too, Greg.
I can feel it. I feel the love.
We have fans like Trevor Bronson, who says, I'd love to gift a Firefly to you, sir. Would be great to see you at the Greater Austin Comic Con in October. Chase Collingsworth is talking about Snake Eyes.
I've done Greater Austin Comic Con. Would love to do it again.
We have
Ron. We have Ron Rudat
somewhere in the new world.
We have G.I. Joe royalty. Ron Rudat.
Ron Rudat commenting. Hey. For any of those who don't know, Ron Rudat was the one that designed the Cobra logo. That's pretty big. Joe Delbridge again says Cobra Commander is one of the most memorable villains voices of all time. Very memorable.
True.
Seconded.
Joshua says, I assume he says, would you like to meet Greg one day? Hope you can come to New Jersey one day. He was actually scheduled for a New Jersey appearance last year, but Greg fell ill, and we will make it happen as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Make it work, people.
One great point that Ron Rudat mentions is that he hears all the time from people who went in the military and served as police officers, basically, that this show resulted in that path.
Right.
And it's a great point to make of how important your show was, and in terms of forming, the lives of many of the people that watched it.
Yeah,
I'm happy to say I hear those stories too.
So sorry, Jay Sullivan, another G.I. Joe royalty covered the thing, and
happy
thank
birthday,
you,
Nery.
I appreciate it.
You brought
happy birthday, Nery. What's that all about?
It was an accident. It was an accident.
I didn't want to talk about it, but
no, I didn't.
Everybody can wish him a happy birthday. It's his.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate the happy birthday message. I accidentally clicked on that.
Happy.
Thank you. Chase Collingsworth says I had to have the toys to recreate the cartoons.
Yep.
I know. I get it. And that's why, collect them all became a phrase. Colin Douglas says he misses you, Greg.
Colin, how's it going? Stay well.
I'm looking. Oh my God, Eeyore.
We'll meet again.
Michael Resser says Grimlock King. I love it.
King Grimlock.
Me no bozo.
Absolutely. And I'm looking for any other questions. Okay, I don't know what I meant. Forgive me.
This taxiway thing you've signed at go to Kai's. Kai just asked one.
Hold on. Michael Resser asked, did Odie and Garfield buddy relationship change when Frank Welker took over as Garfield?
You know what? No, the relationship didn't change. Frank came in with ultimate homage and respect for Lorenzo. We were all pals because the companion piece to Garfield on Garfield and Friends was U.S. Acres. In the rest of the world, it was called Orson's Farm. And I was Orson, and I had to watch out for my pig brothers. But Frank was Booker and Sheldon. We all were in the same studios, all at the same time. It felt so just organic for it to fall to Frank. None of us wanted to lose Lorenzo, but you know, nobody gets out alive is what it comes down to. So with love and respect and homage for everything that Lorenzo had gifted the cat with, Frank took it seriously and did it with respect and gradually made it his own. Not gradually, he was very right to hold that torch up. I get misty if I talk about it, but you know, Lorenzo was a great friend, and one of the true eccentric bohemians of the world. He was an artist's artist. He was
when I hear
odd and wonderful.
I assume Lorenzo was very close to Garfield in personality, right? Am I wrong?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They were married. They were joined at the hip.
That's
essentially
awesome.
His personality is founded a character. That, I mean, it's synonymous. I cannot hear, you know, the tone, the vocal range. When I think of Garfield, there's no way to not think of Lorenzo music.
Right.
Yeah.
So when Frank began to do it, no, the relationship didn't change. That was the cat. The cat and the pup were still the cat and the pup. And the writing by Mark Evanier or by whoever was contributing. I mean, it was Mark, primarily Mark. It just evolved naturally and organically, and was and is a joy to record, and hopefully a joy to behold.
Speaking of a joy, what was the coolest thing that you've signed at a con? Or what's some of the coolest thing that you've signed at a con?
Well, I've signed all manner of merchandise. I
body parts.
Before I got wise to it, I signed a few body parts because there were instances where, again, before I had really thought it out and said, I think this is a bad idea, and I'm pretty sure that by tomorrow you'll think this is a bad idea.
Right.
Yes, that happened.
Yeah.
Scott Zellner is reaching out, basically wanting to promote the Robo Toy Fest that's happening on December 13th. That was postponed. Now, of course, if the show takes place, we will do our best, God willing, that everybody's going to be safe, that we will be there. So,
and that actually,
new world, new rules. Here's hoping.
And that answers Trevor Bronson's post, because earlier I saw that he said that he couldn't make it to Grapevine, but he does live here in LA. So if that one does happen, Trevor, you can come out to that one, because Robo Toy Fest is in Pasadena, correct?
Come on down.
Yeah. So that one's in Pasadena, Trevor.
Absolutely. And Trevor says, question for Greg and really the entire panel. What feelings do you get when fans greet you at appearances while stressed as the characters you gave life to?
Oh, that's a good question.
Can you repeat that?
He's asking essentially, what feeling do you get when you see people walk up dressed as your character?
Oh, like my God. Yeah, it's totally life affirming, and somebody made that choice. I see people as the Gromble. I see people. I see fandom. Just it's such a compliment. It's so flattering because it doesn't just happen. Somebody has taken great pains to make that costume appear, or the cosplay, or whatever it is. So I love it. It makes me feel great about myself, them, and the whole undertaking. It's very, very flattering.
And he added it for us too, Chris, to answer, but it's really affirming for what we do in our lives and bringing you guys to events when we see our clients being dressed up or are having fans dress up as the characters our clients did. I mean, there's nothing more special. It really does make us feel like we're doing a good job. So
I think the fun part for me is like when we're with someone and maybe we see somebody like across the room and we're like, oh my God, that person's so-and-so. And then they're too shy to come over, and we'll actually bring them over.
Yeah.
Hey, so-and-so wants to talk to you. And they're just like, whoa, they like flip out because they're not. We had one time, quick story. One time we were in Phoenix, and Nery will remember this. There was a girl wearing this flawless Harley Quinn outfit. And she was in Kevin Conroy's line, and Diane Pershing said, hey, can you bring her over? And I brought her over. And she was talking to her, and while she was talking to her, she was sending a message to Arlene Sorkin, who originated Harley Quinn. And she got a response and showed it to the girl and automatically started crying. Like this girl just lost it. So it's something that, it is a big thing because it shows appreciation that you've took the time to actually craft this entire outfit, of the character. I mean, that's a big deal.
I will say that you're both expert at just not overthinking it. You'll go and find those people and help connect people that probably wanted to be connected but may have been too shy to step up. You're expert at doing that, and you make the whole experience better because you're so good at doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because Nery and I mean, not a lot of people know this, but we started we're fans. I mean, we love what you guys do. And when we first started out, what we were doing, it was for the love of, your guys' work. And we're fans, and we know what it's like to be at a show. And, now we don't have that kind of, like that fear of walking
we
up.
see you guys, we also see you as friends now. So it's easier now. So.
But I know what it's like, though, to be that person and be like, I don't really want to walk over and just talk, But some celebrities are cool about that, and some celebrities are not. And we know that almost all of our guys are that way. They're just like, hey, if I want to talk to people, like, it's cool. I love that.
I will point out that when I do shows with Alan Oppenheimer, some of those Skeletor cosplayers take it very serious.
Oh, they do.
Oh, yeah.
Some of those outfits, very expensive, very well done, and hundreds of hours put into them.
It's funny. All of the ones, and Greg, you were there for this, all of the ones that I've seen, and if they come up and they try to do the voice, because everything they can do Skeletor's voice, there was one, and you were actually there for it, when we were in St. Louis, at that show in St. Louis.
Yes.
One came up, and this guy had a flawless.
I do remember that.
And he actually did the voice for Alan, and Alan actually got wide-eyed and just turned and looked at him and said, wow, that's actually really good. Every time Alan just gives him the Skeletor voice and says, keep trying, or something like that.
or he goes, job security.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. But that was the one guy out of all of them.
That was really good, and don't get any better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Don't practice it.
Chris, did you have any questions before we wrap it?
No, I'm good. I mean, we went through all of the questions from everybody. I think we are on the. You have anything else?
No. Well, Greg, where can people find you? I mean, can you
try to keep it interesting at Facebook /Gregg Berger, and I'm theoretically still in the run of a play at the Santa Monica Playhouse in Los Angeles. However, like everything else, we are unable to perform. We're still in the middle of what has, not the middle, but we're still continuing what has been a very, very long run of a play called Mistakes Were Made. And part of what I'm doing in this hibernation quarantine is continuing to write and continuing to do things like we're doing today and staying connected in every way possible.
Greg, thank you so much. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man. This has been an absolute joy, and you run a very tight ship, and you kept it lively, and I appreciate it. And I appreciate everything.
Absolutely. we
We've
appreciate
seen a
you.
lot of the country together.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. We
absolutely.
really
We
do
Travel
appreciate
a
it.
lot, you know, and it really is a family. When Chris and I talk about the CelebWorx family, we see you guys as families. So thank you for everything.
I'm happy to be a part of it.
So, Nery, we good? Ready to end it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we want to remind you of a few things. This will be a new weekly CelebWorx Live inside look into G.I. Joe. We will be streaming live every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific time, unless otherwise announced. And our next guest for next Thursday will be the brilliant and menacing Baroness herself, Morgan Lofting.
Yeah, Morgan.
The lovely and talented, the brilliant and menacing.
Menacing.
It's going to be an episode that you won't want to miss, so definitely check it out.
That's great.
Do we have a graphic for that, Nery? No.
We don't, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. So once again, I'm Chris Arsaga, and you can follow me at The Real Arsaga. And in the words of our favorite guy, Spirit, there is too little air to waste on pointless combat.
Love it. And this has been
True.
Nery Lemus. You can follow me at The Real Nery Lemus on Instagram. Just leaving you with a quick saying that means a universal hello, goodbye, thanks for stopping, and stay safe always.
Forgot my Twitter at Gregg Berger.
Yo Joe. Night,
Yo
everyone.
Joe.
Yo Joe. Night, everybody.
Cheers, all.